The title of this video is Avoiding Icebergs. Now, we probably have all heard the story of the Titanic and have some knowledge of the story, maybe seen the movie. There are a couple of factors that are involved in the story of the Titanic that's very apropos towards the subject of trying to avoid catastrophes in one's marriage. Now, when I say a catastrophe, what I'm talking about is an opportunity to avoid icebergs. Okay? And I'm going to discuss that a little bit and discuss what we need to do. Now, the positive side of avoiding icebergs is that you can get to your destination. I mean, what is involved? We'll discuss that, what's involved in discerning the signs that a crucial conversation is needed. But we're going to look at the Titanic as the perfect example of failure. Okay? And here's what happens. The Titanic is the largest structure made by man at the time that it existed. It was the largest physical structure ever made by man. And it was designed so that each compartment could be separated and water sealed. So there would have to be a total of 4 compartments in the Titanic for the ship to sink that would be full of water, and a 5th then compromised. So you would have to have like with this bold reality of an unsinkable ship, this huge entity moving forward, the Titanic goes to cross the Atlantic. And there is a ship's call that comes from a much smaller ship that basically says, hey, we're stuck in ice. And the Titanic does not receive that call. It does not hear that call. And whatever is involved with the radio control room, the decision is not made to heed that call and to adjust accordingly. And there are many other factors that were involved. The possibility of not getting the binoculars that were needed, the long-range binoculars, and not having the proper watch. There are diverse was accomplished. They turned and avoided the iceberg. But the momentum of the boat slammed them into the side of the iceberg. And here's the interesting thing. It just didn't puncture one side of the boat. It dragged along the boat, okay? And it ripped open 5 different compartments, 6 actually. And so once the engineer that was on the boat was told that 6 compartments were ruptured, he said the boat's going to sink. There's no capacity for the boat to move forward and be safe. Now, at that point in time, the traditions within the industry, children go first, right? But we don't have enough life rafts. So we're going to have to make sure the women and children go first, and we don't have enough life rafts. There were other alternatives that possibly could have saved them. The ability to get closer to the nearest ship, moving forward in the water, but tradition held that when you're taking on water, you don't move in the water. Well, maybe or maybe not, that was a good decision, but it wasn't considered. The possibility of an alternative strategy wasn't considered. Tying off to the iceberg, for example, getting the boat tied off the iceberg and getting people off the boat onto the iceberg, there would have been means of being able to accomplish that. Wasn't considered. What was considered, boat cracked. And as the boat sank, few of the available life rafts came to the rescue. And so we're talking about an unnecessary loss of life. So what happens when your marriage gets hit, when something comes in and hits your marriage, you oftentimes don't see the possibilities that are there to salvage what exists. And the process is that you can end up sinking like the Titanic and have an unnecessary loss of life. And we'll talk about next, relatively speaking, because we're morally good people, relatively speaking, we can withstand and not pay attention to the warning signs that are coming, not pay attention to the communication that we should be hearing, not pay attention to the things that we should be seeing. And then we have this horrific effect. And then when you're in the midst of the horrific effect, instead of taking the steps necessary to solve really the problem, we work within the traditions of our own family of origin. And oftentimes, maybe even make things worse based upon the traditions that we have assumed. So that's the issue of the Titanic, and we want to avoid those icebergs. And we'll talk more about the concept of the icebergs. We don't want to go there. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a way to address the fact that there's an iceberg and we have to remove the iceberg or deal with the iceberg or navigate around the iceberg. But we don't want to hit the iceberg straight on because it will rip and damage and destroy our marriage. All right, so I hope that sets a little bit of an understanding. When you go into your assessment, your marital assessment, there's a part 2 that's involved. And at that part 2, it's dealing with conflict. And we'll have a short video in discussion of the nature of conflict and how you assess conflict. Thank you, and I look forward to our next time together.